The insanely popular Ford Mustang received a redesign for 1967, and although it looked similar to the first generation car, the car was lengthened, widened, and updated with more aggressive styling, including a concave rear panel and new taillights in the back, all the way up to a larger and wider grille opening in the front. It was obviously still a Mustang, but now the legendary design elements from America's pony car were all evolving nicely. This car rides on what Ford called a platform chassis design. It's not a body on a frame or a unibody design. It starts with two boxed side rails that are attached to the floor, and then a couple of cross members tie those together, and then the whole body sits on top of that. And up front, you have a boxed area around the engine which provides structural support for the front of the car and provides some pickup points for the front suspension. At first glance, our feature car appears to be a black convertible GT model with black interior, just one of the 472,000 plus Mustangs built for 1967. Of those, there were 44,808 drop tops built, so we've all seen plenty of these cars. But a closer look reveals some details that make this particular car stand out. The GT equipment group featured the grille-mounted fog lights and narrow and wide racing stripes along the lower sides of the car with a GT badge at the front of the stripe. The GT group also added some performance items like power front disc brakes, F70 14-inch tires mounted on chrome-styled steel wheels, an oversized front sway bar, stiffer springs, and tuned shocks for better handling. This car has a limited slip rear axle and 3 50-to-1 gears. Low restriction exhaust and quad tips rounded out the package. When we pop the hood on this car, we're greeted with a chrome air cleaner lid with a 289 high performance sticker on it, but those can be bought at any Mustang reproduction parts supply shop. So to get the real story, Mustang enthusiasts like to scan the VIN stamped on the driver inner fender for clues to the car's DNA, and this one has all the right letters in all the right places. For example, the letter K in the 5th position reveals that this car came from the factory with the 271 horsepower 289 high performance V8, and also means that this car is one of only 50 K-code convertibles ever built. The '67 Mustang was available with 13 different engine options, ranging from a 200 cubic inch 6-cylinder all the way up to a 390 big block, but many people believe that the high performance 289 delivered the best balance of power and performance. The Hypo 289 was a hot item, with all kinds of thoughtful performance parts installed from the factory. From the top, we see the chrome air filter housing sitting atop a specially calibrated 4-barrel carburetor. The painted intake manifold is a standard cast iron 289 piece, but it's bolted to Hypo cylinder heads, which featured screw-in rocker studs and special valve spring cups to keep the valve train stable at high RPM. A special cam with solid lifters was chosen. The block is the same as a regular 289, but it had stronger main caps installed. This engine also has a treated crankshaft and upsized 3/8 connecting rod bolts. Forged 10.5-to-1 high compression pistons were used, and the Hypo also used a special crank weight and balancer. The free-breathing exhaust manifolds were unique to the 289 Hypo, and it also had a dual-point distributor. The result was a 271 horsepower rating with 312 pound-feet of torque and the ability to spin to 6,000 RPM, which ratcheted the fun factor up to 11 on these cars. Inside the car, we find a black deluxe interior with bucket seats, a sleek full-length console with a garage door-like storage compartment, the 4-speed shifter, and an AM radio. The gauges include a 150 mile-an-hour speedometer and an 8,000 RPM tach, which are visible through that handsome wood steering wheel. And we dig the striped floor mats as well. When dealing with these low production muscle cars, it's important to have some documentation on the car to prove that it is what it is. A Marti report is the standard for late 1960s Fords, and it will outline the options installed on a particular car, as well as break down the production numbers to say how many were made. As we scanned this car's Marti report, we learned that there were 50K code convertibles made, 34 were 4-speeds, and 2 of those were triple black, but only 1 had the deluxe interior, making this car